Imagine standing on what feels like solid ground, but it isn't. Beneath your boots, the frozen earth is quietly turning into mud. A house nearby tilts slightly more every week. A school's foundation just cracked, and that majestic glacier in the distance, it's shifting, not inching, moving. This isn't a scene from a movie. It's Greenland in 2025. The world's biggest island is breaking apart in slow motion. Tourists still see beauty, but the people living here, they see danger. This video reveals why nearly 90% of Greenland has become unlivable, and why this matters far beyond the Arctic Circle. Greenland looks gigantic on a globe, bigger than India, nearly the size of Africa, but that's just cartographic distortion. In reality, most of Greenland is completely inaccessible. Roughly 80% of its surface is buried beneath a thick ice sheet, some parts 2 miles deep. That's not a metaphor, that's a wall of ice that literally crushes everything under it. And the remaining 20%? It's not all green valleys. Much of that land is rugged mountain, soggy wetland, or jagged coastline. The places where people can actually live are narrow strips along the edges, mostly on the southwest coast, where the weather is less harsh and supply boats can reach during summer months. Even then, these communities are isolated, small, and vulnerable. Greenland may look vast on paper, but if you zoom in, there's barely any room for life to thrive. And what space does exist is slowly slipping away. Global warming doesn't treat every region equally. In the Arctic, it's twice as fast. Scientists call it Arctic amplification. For Greenland, that means winters aren't what they used to be. Average temperatures are creeping higher every year. Areas that were once frozen solid in December now hover just below freezing. And that change is a nightmare for infrastructure. Take permafrost, for example. The frozen soil that acts like nature's cement. When it stays frozen, it supports buildings, roads, and airstrips. But now, it's thawing, and that's a silent crisis. Foundations crack, water lines burst, runways sink. Towns that were once stable are now slowly sinking. In 2024, Greenland saw a slight dip in ice loss, but don't be fooled. That was a weather fluke, not a climate reversal. In 2025, satellite data shows deeper crevices forming within the ice sheet. Some scientists warn that sections of ice could collapse with little warning. And when they do, massive amounts of freshwater flood into the ocean, affecting coastlines far beyond Greenland itself. Even without the ice sheet, living in Greenland isn't easy. Let's start with the basics. The central ice-covered region is off-limits. It's constantly moving, unpredictable, and deadly cold. But move closer to the coast and you'll still find major issues. Many of these towns are built on permafrost, and as it melts, the ground becomes unstable. Greenland's former main airport in Kangerlussuaq is already phasing out commercial flights because the runway is too damaged to use safely. In other places, entire homes have to be relocated or rebuilt. There are no highways linking towns, just helicopters, boats, or small planes. And when winter storms come early, those supply lines can snap without warning. Some communities are also battling severe coastal erosion. Rising sea levels and longer ice-free summers mean bigger waves hit the shoreline with force. Whole villages, especially in the north and east, are at risk of washing away. So even if the land isn't underwater or buried in ice, it's still a dangerous place to build a life. If you're finding this eye-opening, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. We break down global events in ways that actually make sense, without the fluff. Turn on notifications so you never miss the next one. When people talk about climate change, they usually mention sea levels or polar bears, but in Greenland, the cost is deeply human. This is a place where tradition matters. Hunting, fishing, and storytelling have shaped life here for generations, but the weather is changing faster than the culture can adapt. Hunters say the ice forms too late and breaks too early. Travel routes that were once reliable are now dangerous. The animals they depend on, seals, narwhals, fish, are moving or dying off. That shift creates a painful kind of loss. It's not just about income, it's about identity. Young people are leaving for Denmark or Canada, chasing stability and jobs. And the ones who stay behind, many feel stuck in fading villages with few opportunities. Mental health is in crisis. Greenland has one of the highest suicide rates in the world, especially among teens and young adults. It's a mix of historical trauma, social isolation, and the sheer weight of watching your homeland vanish in real time. When your traditions can't keep up with the climate, people start to lose their sense of belonging. And that's a crisis no piece of infrastructure can fix. Greenland's crisis has drawn attention, but not always the kind locals want. The US, China, the EU, they're all circling. Not because they want to help communities rebuild, but because they see value in what lies beneath the melting surface. Rare earth minerals, oil reserves, and new shipping routes. In recent years, Greenland has been pitched as the new frontier for resource extraction. Mining companies are lobbying for licenses. Research stations are expanding, and governments are holding quiet talks behind closed doors. Even the US Senate held hearings this year on how Greenland's resources could help supply electric vehicle components. But the irony is hard to miss. While foreign powers chase profits, local towns are struggling to stay above water. Literally. Roads are cracking, power grids are failing, and some villages may have to relocate within a decade. There's a growing disconnect between global interests and local needs. Greenlanders want investment, yes, but not at the cost of their land, culture, or control. Without proper safeguards, there's a real risk that Greenland's future will be shaped by outsiders chasing wealth, not by the people who actually live there. At first glance, warmer temperatures in Greenland might seem like a good thing. You might have seen headlines claiming Greenland is becoming the next agricultural hotspot, but that narrative skips over the messy details. Just because land is melting doesn't mean it's usable. In fact, most of the newly exposed areas have almost no soil, just rock or unstable sediment. Even in the southern part of Greenland, where farming has existed for centuries, the challenges are growing. Sudden snowstorms, rain on snow events, and short growing seasons make it nearly impossible to rely on crops. Hay for livestock gets buried under ice in August. Fields flood with meltwater, and in some cases, permafrost collapse exposes toxic materials that were frozen for centuries, like mercury. There are a few success stories. Some farmers are growing vegetables in greenhouses, experimenting with new methods. But this isn't a farming revolution, it's survival farming at best. The idea that Greenland could replace traditional breadbasket regions is more fiction than fact. At most, small pockets might support limited agriculture. But the idea of farming solving Greenland's crisis, it's wishful thinking, far removed from what's actually happening on the ground. Greenland has always been expensive, but now it's getting worse. With nearly every good imported from milk to phone chargers, any delay in supply chains sends prices soaring. And with unpredictable weather, those delays are happening more often. A single storm can shut down a harbor for weeks. A cracked airstrip can cancel all flights in or out of a town. Meanwhile, housing is becoming a crisis of its own. As more people move into the few stable cities like Nuuk, rent prices are rising fast, but construction can't keep up. You can't just build anywhere. Thawing permafrost makes it risky and costly. New buildings need special foundations or stilts to avoid collapse. That means fewer homes, built more slowly at higher costs. And here's the harsh part. As the cost of living rises, options shrink. Young people with skills leave for Denmark or Iceland. Those who stay either struggle or wait on long housing lists. Entire communities are being squeezed by a shrinking map, one where safe, affordable land is becoming a rare resource. For many, staying in Greenland isn't just hard, it's becoming economically impossible. What makes Greenland's crisis especially dangerous is that the land itself is unstable and changing far quicker than most people realize. As the thick ice sheet continues to melt, the ground beneath it begins to rise. This is called glacial rebound. It sounds harmless, but it's not. It warps coastlines, distorts infrastructure, and shifts the foundation of entire towns. In places like Ilulissat, streets laid out only a decade ago are starting to buckle. Shorelines have moved. GPS data used for mapping is now outdated within just a few years. Scientists are rushing to monitor it all, but nature is ahead of them. Combine this with thawing permafrost and coastal erosion, and you get a moving target. For builders, planners, and emergency responders, it's a nightmare. You can't predict what's solid ground anymore. What was safe 5 years ago might be unusable now. The island isn't just warming, it's warping physically, permanently. And that makes long-term planning almost impossible for the people trying to live, work, and build anything in the few remaining livable areas. The ground is shifting, and not just beneath Greenland. What's happening there is a preview of what unchecked climate change can do anywhere. By the way, I booked my last trip to Cancun for half the usual price, and no, I'm not gatekeeping. I used Expedia, and I've got an affiliate link below that gets you the same deals. No extra cost to you, just real savings. Also, I'm really grateful for your time and attention. I spend hours curating the best information possible and turning it into videos like this. If you'd like to support the work, consider buying me a coffee. It helps fuel the next one. Do you think Greenland can recover, or is relocation the only option left? Let me know in the comments. Make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Next up, 10 US states Americans are fleeing in 2025. If you think Greenland's shifting ground is bad, wait until you see which American states people are escaping and why.